There is no exact data on the fact I'm about to tell you. But legal experts say that most crimes are unsolved. When you think about it fundamentally, if you take all the reported crimes and then all the unreported crimes, including things that only the potential criminal might know about, like something simple, refusing to report all your cash income, then the number of solved and convicted crimes is much lower than the total. And when it comes to complex crimes that are maybe never busted, like not caught on tape or seen by a random witness or otherwise outed by surveillance footage, well, for those kind of crimes, investigators typically need an insider. That person may be part of the conspiracy, like the classic accomplices who flip in mob cases or The Godfather, or it could be someone who was there inside, whether they took part or not in the crime. So a key part of prosecutors' jobs is to simply find those insiders. That's what federal prosecutor Andrew Weissmann did when he ran the very tough and feared Enron task force. It's part of why Bob Mueller tapped him to prosecute Trump's campaign chair, Paul Manafort. And now Weissmann's telling us, in the current Trump org probe, all of a sudden, brand new, the Manhattan DA may have found his insider.
I'd like to throw out one more name, which is Jeff McConney. It would be unusual to put somebody like McConney into the state grand jury where he would be given immunity for, as soon as he testifies automatically, if they didn't think that he had something useful to provide. In other words, Manhattan may have found their insider.
That's striking. He's talking about the current Trump org official who just testified to the grand jury handling this criminal case, who reports directly to Trump's money man. And there's a reason the New York DA is immortalized in so many stories and on the big screen. It's a big job.
In the criminal justice system, the people are represented by two separate yet equally important groups: the police who investigate crime and the district attorneys who prosecute the offenders. These are their stories.
I'm glad to have you on my team.
I'm not on a team, Maureen. I represent the people of the state of New York.
Come on, Harvey, you're Gotham's DA. You're not getting shot at. You're not doing your job right.
And we know DA Cy Vance sees the money trail as the key to this case, which may tackle one of the most consequential calls in the history of the American presidency, whether to indict an ex-president for the first time. Now, the grand jury is secret, but we do know the DA sees Trump's business and personal money trail as a linchpin. He waged that multi-year effort to get Trump's taxes, winning where literally every other person, Trump rival, and every other investigation had failed.
Declining to block a New York grand jury from getting President Trump's personal and corporate tax returns.
Clearing the way now for investigations to finally get their hands on the former president's tax returns.
They've got him.
The Manhattan District Attorney now is in possession of former President Donald Trump's tax returns.
Millions of pages of Trump's financial documents.
Investigators now scouring those millions of documents, and a Trump org official who already did time says they're key.
How important will the tax records and financial statements, the DA's office received after last week's Supreme Court decision, be to the investigation?
Yeah, that sounds to me like the Holy Grail.
Michael Cohen's falling out with Trump is actually one of the most famous and costly of anyone in Trump's orbit who ever fell out, complete with a prison sentence, no pardon, unlike some other Trump loyalists. So Cohen has every reason to help this DA. And we have clues that the DA is finding Cohen's information useful. Time's limited, but they've already had Cohen in at least 6 times as they probe 4 Trump properties that we know are reportedly under investigation. There may be more. So what will the DA do? We don't know. When will we get an update? Well, we can talk about that because we actually have some clear signals. After 10 years on the job, this DA's term ends in December, as his former deputy and other experts have emphasized.
He's not running for re-election. His term ends December 31st. And so there's going to be a new DA on January 1st.
And I don't think they want to wait 6 months because that runs up against Vance's date.
Former colleagues of this New York DA expect him to decide about any charges by the end of the year or earlier. Now, if they don't have enough evidence, of course, there could just be no charges by that deadline. But if they do indict, and many see the escalating grand jury as a sign they're going in that direction, then they're more likely to do so by this December deadline, so that this DA finishes that part. But then what? I mean, DA Vance could make this momentous call, like indicting the entire company run by a former president, or even the former president himself, and then he walks out the door. And the person who replaces him then inherits a very big case, if there's an indictment. And then that person has to decide whether to wage it, or how, or depending on the person, a new DA has the authority legally to change the whole approach, or even drop the case. So as this investigation walks up to one of the greatest unprecedented legal calls in the history of the presidency, New York, and thus our nation, faces a question mark about who would even finish this job, which actually makes the current race to replace the DA a pretty big deal. I mean, yes, I think about these things for a living, but this is a big deal if you think about it for 1 minute, or you think about it with me tonight. So it may not be getting wall-to-wall national attention, but I can tell you legal experts are watching this. People at the DOJ are watching this right now. People down in Mar-a-Lago are watching this. Who's going to take over this powerful post? The critical vote is actually just 12 days away. There are 8 Democrats and 1 Republican running for a job that's important to New York in many ways, no matter what, but that may also be ground zero for the trial of the century, depending on what the current DA does. So it's pretty important what those candidates plan to do as voters assess them in these final days. And among the 8 Democrats in the primary, experts say there are actually only a handful of front runners